The June 9th, 2026 meeting of the Anne Arundel County Council is now in session. Today is Amendment Day. We are here to consider amendments to the proposed FY27 budget. Please silence all electronic devices at this time. Ms. Fiedler will lead us in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please pray in a manner consistent with your faith while I pray in a manner consistent with mine. Let us take a moment to reflect on the past years of budget work and the outlook for our future as we gather today to do the difficult work for the residents of Anne Arundel County. We ask for the wisdom to make sound choices, the clarity to evaluate our resources honestly, and the spirit of cooperation as we discuss the best path forward. May our decisions be fair, fiscally responsible, and a balance that benefits all that we serve. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any item any council member would like to place on the agenda? Okay. May I have a motion that the partial reading of any bill, resolution, amendment to a bill or resolution, or minutes constitutes the reading of the whole? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Secretary, please read the titles of the resolutions to be introduced this morning.
Resolution number 1426, resolution proposing an amendment to the Charter of Anne Arundel County to establish the county attorney position as a joint appointment between the county executive and the county council, provide the appointment and removal of the joint appointment, and clarify the role of the county attorney as the general counsel to both branches of government. And resolution number 1526, resolution proposing an amendment to the Charter of Anne Arundel County to remove specific position titles from the officers appointed by the council.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 3226.
Bill number 3226, an ordinance concerning annual budget and appropriation ordinance of Anne Arundel County.
Okay. We will now move on to amendments. We have 22 amendments total. We have 15, 1 through 15, that have that we would like to put forward as a block of amendments. Do I have a motion to vote on the groups of amendments as a block? Okay. So, I'm sorry, I should have been more specific. May I have a motion to vote on amendments numbers 1 through 15 as a block? Okay. Any objections? All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith. Aye. Ms. Pickard. Mr. Volkey. And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to vote on amendments number 1 through 15 as a block has passed.
Let the debates begin. Right. All right. Madam Secretary, please read amendments number 1 through 15.
Amendment number 1, capital budget, reduces FY27 general county pay-go by $250,000. Amendment number 2, capital budget, deletes $80,000 of FY27 general fund pay-go. Amendment number 3, capital budget, reduces FY27 bond premium by $1,975,000. Amendment number 4, capital budget, reduces FY27 general county bonds by an additional $142,000. Amendment number 5, capital budget, reduces FY27 general county bonds by $85,000. Amendment number 6, prior council approval, reduces prior approved general county pay-go by an additional $242,000 and increases MD waterway improvement by $242,000. Amendment number 7, prior council approval, reduces prior approved general county bonds by $300,000. Amendment number 8, prior council approval, reduces prior approved general county bonds by $212,000. Amendment number 9, prior council approval, reduces prior approved general county bonds by $325,000. Amendment number 10, capital program, reduces FY28 general county bonds by $50,000. $157,000. Amendment number 11, capital program, reduces FY28 general county bonds by $302,000 and reduces FY29 general county bonds by an additional $121,000. Amendment number 12, capital program, reduces FY28 highway impact fees District 4 by $563,000. Amendment number 13, capital program, reduces FY29 general council bonds by $214,000. Amendment number 14, capital budget, reduces FY27 general county bonds by $38,000. And amendment number 15, capital program, reduces FY29 general county bonds by $188,000 and reduces FY31 general county bonds by $250,000.
Okay. All of these amendments have been introduced by the entire council. Is there any council members that would like to make any statements or comments on these amendments? All right. Do I have a motion to adopt? Do I have a second? Second. Okay. Administration, Mr. Trumbauer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Trumbauer, Budget Officer. These amendments are the ones that were identified by the Auditor's Office in the capital, largely in the capital budget. We have reviewed and we have no opposition. And these amendments will help make available some funding to put towards the things that you have requested in the supplemental budget, which will be introduced later today.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendments number 1 through 15.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodbian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment numbers 1 through 15 to Bill number 3226 have been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 16.
Amendment number 16, capital budget, reduces FY27 general county bonds by $1,691,500.
Okay. Mr. Smith, this is your amendment.
Say 15 or 16?
16.
Oh, I'm sorry.
16.
Yes, so this amendment, this was a hard one. Because normally, I don't like doing things outside of my councilmatic district. This is certainly not within mine. Over the last few months, communities have reached out to all of us, I believe, invited us to have a conversation with them about a particular activity that was going to be occurring down in Valentine's Creek. And my goal when I went there was just to be open-minded and to see exactly what was transpiring there. After I walked the land and figured out the complications that existed there, part of this was me finding out that maybe we can sort of push this to the right to really assess what exactly and what footprint should exist there on that particular plot. That walk did sort of jog me a little bit. I mean, it kind of I was a little concerned about the length that it took to get from the parking to where the water access point was going to be located. And so for me, the community felt like I don't do things, I try not to do things from an emotional standpoint and purely from a logical standpoint. And so the logic at the time when I went there was like, wow, this doesn't make sense. And maybe we should sort of pause on this, particularly to re-look at where that access point should be at. I know that this has been in discussion for a number of years in the county, this particular location. But I wanted to at least give my best effort to try to help the community. They seem to be all in alliance with the same sort of issue. In fact, I think some of the members in this audience are from that community who had wished and hoped that we could at least delay this a year so that we can look at exactly what should exist there and how it should be set up specifically. So if you're here in support of that, this amendment, please stand if you're from that community. They had asked that they were going to come out and reach out. And so thank you all for being here, but that's part of the reason I submitted this, because once we break ground and we change it, that's it, right? And so if this 1 year allows us to reassess that and do what should make sense there, then I'm okay with waiting the year, even though I know this has been a discussion for a number of years already. I thought it was appropriate to at least listen to the community and try to make this thing a reality for them. So thank you all. Please be seated, and that's motion to adopt.
Mr. Trumbauer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Trumbauer for the administration. The administration would ask the council to resist this amendment. Just a little more history on the site. The property was acquired back in 2018 through the program Open Space. This was obviously the prior administration. The prior administration originally acquired the property with the vision of a trailered boat ramp and a much larger degree of impact and development. When the Pittman administration came in and worked with the Department of Rec and Parks, they had a stakeholder engagement effort, and they changed the plan to now be much more minimal impact. There's going to be a canoe or kayak launch. There's going to be a new trail, I think a fishing pier, and a small parking area. So I'll remind the council, this is public property. The county did acquire it with help through program Open Space. The requirements of program Open Space do dictate that there has to be some public access available. The administration believes that this is a much more responsible way forward than what was originally conceived during the prior administration, and we would ask the council to keep this project on track. My understanding from the department is that it's at the 60% design drawing phase. They're working on permitting for the state and federal levels, and the construction wouldn't begin until summer of next year at the earliest.
Further discussion? Ms. Rappian.
Thank you. I just want to weigh in on this amendment, and I vigorously oppose it. The county, as Mr. Trumbauer mentioned, purchased this over 8 years ago with program Open Space money. And one of the most fundamental requirements of land that is purchased with program Open Space is that it is open to the public. And while technically that is the case right now, the amenities that actually would do that haven't yet been constructed. To me, 8 years is plenty long enough. There's been lots of time. Recreation and Parks has already reduced the proposal that they made for this site to make something much less impactful. And they've continued to work with the community to try and find accommodations. It seems, however, that, and I don't necessarily speak for folks in the room, but there are some folks in the community that do not want any sort of access to the public to be available at Valentine Creek, because the proposal at this stage is incredibly minimal. So right now, in my mind, this feels like a deprivation to the rest of the county. Water access that should be available was purchased with taxpayer dollars. It should be available to all taxpayers of the county. And any further delay is just unwarranted after 8 years of trying to come up with a plan that will satisfy everyone. So I would urge my colleagues to reject this amendment.
Mr. Wilkie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to speak to both this particular site, but also another project that is within this same P-class project, which is the water access facilities. My understanding is that when we did our budget deliberations, the Rec and Parks shared that they had moved money for Beechwood Park, which is a park in my district, from boat ramps over into this water access facilities fund. And I will just share a little bit of history on that. Very similar to Valentine Creek. It was acquired by the county. It was a piece of property where under the prior administration there had been some talk about doing a boat and trailer launch. The community very much opposes that. The community did not want to have that. The streets are not really designed for that. It doesn't make sense. There have been community meetings where there has been a lot of outcry from the community saying we don't want that. I've continued to talk to Rec and Parks and see what we can do to dial back the scope of the project, because there is a car top launch there currently. It does have parking, and one of the things I've asked is that they just look at expanding the car top area so that people can walk down there. So they have done that, and the scope on that has continued to narrow. But the reason that I bring it up in the context of this is I had originally considered doing an amendment myself that would have pushed the funding similar to what Mr. Smith has done out onto that, on that project as well. But because Mr. Smith has done it, I don't feel the need to have to move mine that way. I'm just putting out there publicly so that anybody in my community knows what the thought process was and understands why this is happening the way it is. So I certainly will be supporting this, because this water access facilities P-class project, just so everybody understands, we appropriate money to a class, and then from there, the department decides how to allocate that money on different projects. So ultimately, what Mr. Smith's amendment does is it doesn't kill this project or say, that this project isn't going to happen. What it does say is we're going to move some of the money around and we're going to sort of earmark it in particular ways to do it. So with that, I think that does make sense. I appreciate the community coming out. frankly, I've never seen anybody come out on Amendment Day, so kudos to you. This is the first time in 8 years. You're always here, Mr. Stansky. I saw you. Yeah, you're here. but in fairness, you kind of have to be here. So, okay, all right. I'm talking about community members. It's very rare that we see that. So thank you for being here and making your voices heard, and I do plan to support this amendment.
Ms. Pickard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to support my colleague, Ms. Rodvian in District 6 and the administration on not supporting this amendment. We have been challenged in this county for decades providing water access to the public. I know it's very difficult for me, who is landlocked, to find a way to put my paddleboard in the water. And that's the case for hundreds of thousands of residents in Anne Arundel County. But beyond that, this project has been in the planning stages for over 3 years and is at 60% design. We have other Rec and Parks projects waiting and waiting and waiting to get to this stage, and we're just delaying the entire Rec and Parks CIP by moving this project further along. The project has been scaled back, as Mr. Trumbauer and Ms. Rodvian has said, and we just have to finish projects in this county and move on to the next thing. The delicate balance between private shoreline owners and folks who want access to the water is real. But this work has already been done on this project, and I think we need to move it forward. And I'm disappointed with this amendment after some of the press coverage that the community has brought forward. It's been quite disappointing to hear the public referred to in such negative ways when we all just want to enjoy the beautiful and unique attributes in Anne Arundel County. I think this is a wrong direction for this council to be going. Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
I just want to say, I was here when we purchased that land back in 2018, so I totally understand the use of open space money to preserve and protect a lot of our wetlands and access points here throughout the county. This council took a similar in down south in Discovery Village, right? We sort of were able to make some decisions that delay that or push that back from a funding standpoint. And so I think in this instance, I think it's important to make sure that the community who is directly impacted by it feels like we're listening to them. Too often, we didn't kill the project. We didn't delete the money from it. I think there's a way to actually find a balance on this, particularly with the parking pad that's up there, and try to preserve as much as possible the natural features of that trail, so that it isn't paved over or anything else. Because the beauty in it is in what it looks like today, not what we're trying to make it look like. And so, I'm on board with trying to listen to the community to make sure they feel like we're hearing them and we're protecting a natural resource here in Anne Arundel County. Yes, we paid open space money. Yes, we're going to make sure it is accessible to the public. But I think the project, that in the way it's designed right now, steals a little bit more than what I would like to see for that particular trail. And so for me, that's why I agreed with the community to bring forth this amendment. Thank you.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last night, I thought I knew where I was going to be on this amendment, but after discussions in the last 12 hours, I would say I'm really torn, to be quite honest. Having emails shared from members of the community and talking to folks who have actually gone out and toured the property, walked on foot, and put the plans that are on paper on land. So I just want to confirm the amendment kicks this out 1 year as an opportunity to discuss.
There, and I know that we've had, I'm sorry about that. I know that the last 3 years they've done that or had discussions. But I think, where this thing goes, the next administration is to probably, put their fingerprint on it, to be honest with you. But I think that allows the community one last opportunity to make sure their voice is heard in this process. And so this delay of a year, I don't think ultimately, if it's been 7 or 8 already, the 9th year is not going to change anything if that's the case. And so obviously they're here for themselves, and you can see from the outpour of folks that are here on this particular project. That's why I'm supporting this amendment.
Thank you.
Ms. Rodvian.
Thank you. Again, how many years are we going to kick this project down the road? This already is a compromise between the county and the community. The original plan was a much bigger footprint than this one. This is the compromise. We don't need another year to create another compromise. If we continue to compromise, there won't be anything left of public access. And I know my colleague had some thoughts to share, and if you still would like to share those, Ms. Hummer, I'd be happy to let you do that. But I do want to make sure that your comments are shared, because if you don't, I will.
Well, I do, I do believe it's been 8 years. We've had numerous discussions. I've gone back and looked at the records, and there has been enormous compromise. We spent public money on this. We have a constant debate in this county that there's not enough water access to the beautiful things. And I will quote from the article that was written, because I agree with this quote. I don't think that, I'm interpreting it differently how the person who said it, but they said, allowing unfettered public access to the waterway redefines the meaning of water privilege by allowing anyone to access it. That's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to give public spaces that do take away the meaning of water privilege so that it's not just a privilege, that everyone can use it. And I think this is an opportunity, and every year that we delay is one more year that we're not allowing that to happen. 8 years has been a long time. I think we have spent the money, we have got that, we have reached a compromise, we have worked carefully. It's time to open this up and let it be used, and the beauty of Anne Arundel County be appreciated by more people. Ms. Ravian.
Thank you. I appreciate that you sharing that. I actually want to share the whole context of the quote, because to me, it just, it really speaks to what seems to be the underlying desire of some, and again, I won't say all, but some folks in the community to block all access. This is again quote from the same article from the Banner, April of this year. All of the residents from the surrounding community have paid peak real estate prices and property taxes in order to live in the respective communities, not to mention the annual fees to maintain the community amenities. And then the part that Ms. Hummer read, allowing unfettered public access to the waterway redefines the meaning of water privilege by allowing anyone to access it. The whole point of purchasing this is because it is with the tax dollars of everyone. It is not just the community, and that means everyone should have access to it. We can't have water privilege for a public piece of land. A public piece of land belongs to the public, and it should have public access. And it wasn't purchased to be a conservancy, which is what I also see in here as a suggestion. This should be a nature conservancy, some sort of nature preserve. That would be a different idea, but it was purchased with program open space, and open space means open to the public. It was purchased for $8 million with county funds. At this point, that amount is significant, with state funds, program open space. And at this point, the value of that property has probably close to doubled. And we have heard attempts by the community to block the access to it, but not to say, hey, we'll purchase this. Because what I think is preferred is that the county maintain this as a private area for folks in the community that do not want outsiders to access it. And to me, that is not what a county park should be. A county park needs to be open to the public. We all pay for it. It does not, if this had been a purchase made by the communities, we would be having an entirely different conversation, but it was purchased with taxpayer dollars. And to block off part of the community is a continual problem that we have had in this county, particularly with water access. And so it's time to stop that pattern of depriving all county residents who all pay taxes water access. And as I said again, the compromise has already been reached. This is the compromise. We don't need to compromise further.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The $793,500 that's left in, I don't know if this is a question for Mr. Trumbauer or if it's for Mr. Smith. What is that allocated to anything in particular, that amount that's being left in this fund?
There were two other, this class P code that exists had 3 projects that were assigned to it In that 2.485 million, 1.6 of it was specifically for Valentine Creek. So the other remainder is for those other two projects that exist within that class.
Thank you.
Mr. Volkey?
I just want to confirm, the property is, the public can access it right now, right?
There's no, the public can walk onto the property.
Yeah.
It's county property, but there's no amenities, there's no
I
real
got you.
parking or anything.
But it's not like people are being deprived of being able to access county property. Like, there's not a gate across it that says, do not enter. There's not a big fence with barbed wire at the top. Like, if you wanted to go to this property, Valentine Creek Park, you can park outside, you can get out of your car, you can walk through, you can go out in the water. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Mr. Volkey, I've been there once.
Yeah.
My recollection is it's at the end of a little
Cul-de-sac.
street, and you can pull off to the side maybe a handful of spaces. But if you were somewhere else in the county and you wanted to say, hey, I want to go check out this Valentine Park site, you'd have to navigate your way there. You'd have to park on the side, and then you'd basically walk into the woods. There's no signage. There's nothing that indicates that this is a county amenity at this time.
I got you. So the issue is that we haven't paved a road down there like the conceptual plans show, with a parking area and then another paved area all the way down to the water that has another parking area and then a 20-foot dredge channel. That's the issue.
So the issue, what's at stake, what the county is trying to accomplish is providing something for folks to actually come to the site and utilize the water access. So I think I said in my introductory remarks, what the project includes, what the amendment would seek to defer, is a new small parking area, a new trail down to the water, a fishing pier, a kayak canoe soft launch, and landscaping. And I will also point out two things, since you gave me the opportunity to turn the mic on. Number one,
Go ahead, Mr.
the sponsor is correct. This isn't cutting the project entirely. It's taking it out of this year and putting it in next year. That's not without consequence, right? So that is a delay. But remember, you guys have all been here long enough. You know what happens when you delay construction projects. Do they get cheaper? Do they get easier? No, they do not. The second thing I'll point out is I think we all know that we have a very vibrant water access community of advocates that have been very quiet this year because there was nothing cutting their projects up until about 20 minutes ago when this was introduced. So I will predict if this amendment is successful, everybody's email is going to light up with the other side of the advocacy of this. So we've heard passionate arguments on both sides. I'm going to try and stick to the practical. Again, the administration opposes this because, as I think Councilwoman Rodvine was pointing out, there's already been a stakeholder process. Of course, not everybody is happy with the results, but the administration and the department feel that this is a reasonable and responsible plan forward. It is much less impactful than the original design that would have been a trailered boat ramp. So we would urge the council to reject the amendment and keep the project as it is.
Thank you. And I just want to note something that you remarked on before I come back to this, which is I appreciate the fact that whoever had this amendment put together, that it was maintained confidentially, right? So to the extent that there were people here one way or the other, it looks like they were probably here because they were driven by the sponsor and letting them know, not because someone else sort of leaked the amendment and then said to the other side, come on out and you can advocate against that, which we'll get to soon. But that being said, what other water access opportunities exist in a similar geographic proximity to where we're looking at here on Valentine Creek?
As a humble budget officer, I would maybe defer to the councilwoman if she knows the area better, or I can send a text to the department. But I'm not personally familiar with any or all of the opportunities in that general area.
All right, well, I'll just say I'm on the county site and I'm looking at the car top boat launches, and it looks like we have 2, 4, and on the prior page we've got 2, 4, 5. We have at least 19 car top boat launch sites in the county at various points around the county. I have quite a few of them in my district, so I would welcome anybody who wants to do a car top launch. Come on by. We've got some great spaces up on Solly off of Solly Road, Carbide Road up there. The Solly ramp is a wonderful place. You can launch a boat or a car top. We've got Fort Smallwood, so I'm just putting a public plug out there that
Those sound
it's-
great, and we'd love to bring the same amenity to Valentine Creek,
and
Councilman.
with the appropriate time, I think that would make great sense. My point is, clearly we have these amenities. They're available for county taxpayers. These are not something that we're depriving people of. These opportunities are there. I certainly can appreciate the desire for more, but I think that has to be balanced with the community input. So that's where I'm landing on it, and I'll vote accordingly.
Ms. Pickard?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have been communicated with as well and have had an exchange with individuals in the community. Maybe they're here in the audience. I was also informed during my attempt to plan to visit that the community has retained an attorney. So that therefore my communication stopped, because once someone is actively taking legal action against the county, I don't continue to stay involved. I believe we were all informed that that is not good form to do that. So my concern is if pushing this out and we have a community who is opposed to this project has now retained counsel, this is just setting us up for continued denial of access to public water access. This is really unfortunate that this was all sprung upon us in the 11th hour, and I'm disappointed, to be honest, that this is where we are. We're pulling politics and into public water access and our rec and parks. I mean, we have so many parks that need attention, and we need to move these projects forward. And just opening up another year for now in a lawsuit that's probably coming is unfortunate. It's disheartening today.
Mr. Smith?
I was just, I had my light on to answer questions. Sorry, Matt.
Okay. Ms. Rodvian?
I just also wanted to point out that going back to the Banner article, that there had been posted a neighborhood crime watch sign near the entrance to the park, or near the foot entrance, the path to the park, no parking anytime, residents only. That was not a county sign that had been put up by the community. So again, I'm hearing two different messages. One, we don't want parking on the streets, but we also don't want a parking lot for the park either. So to me, that doesn't seem like a community, or at least the individuals involved here. Again, I realize that there are many different viewpoints within any given community, so I don't want to attribute a viewpoint to any one person or an entire group of people. But that does show me that there is at least some attempt to block community access to this altogether. If you're not going to accommodate folks on your streets, if you're not going to accommodate a small parking lot, then that to me says we don't want folks here. And this is county property, again, purchased with taxpayer dollars. It must be open to the public. And I feel very strongly about that. And I know I'm disappointing folks that are here today, but this is not private property. And I get the impression that many folks in the community want to continue to treat this as a community-only asset, not a public place that can be accessible. If we don't have some paved trails, it is not ADA accessible. That doesn't mean every trail in the community needs to be paved, but in order to be ADA accessible, and there are many people in our community that need that kind of accommodation to access a park. And so in order to be inclusive, in order to accommodate visitors from across the county, from the public, it needs to have those resources in place. So I urge my colleagues to reject this amendment as well as amendment number 17. This is a pattern that has gone on in this county for far too long. There are communities in my county where children reach age 10, 15 years old, and this may seem unbelievable, but before they even see the water, before they ever step foot on the shore in Anne Arundel County. And it's because we have such limited access to water. The community has such limited access to the water, and this will provide another place. And I don't believe we should be depriving that of county residents who paid for it, or children who grow up here who deserve to be able to experience the water that we have. That is one of the most beautiful features and assets of our county.
Mr. Smith?
Just quickly, and I won't ask the budget officer because I know he's probably deferred to the Recs and Parks. The distance from the parking pad, and just to be clear, I am not opposed to future development of a parking pad on that site, whether it's this year or next year. That is not what this is about. For me, it was about what was practically and what made sense for that particular site. I don't know if the budget officer is aware. Does he know the distance from the parking pad to the water access point?
I don't have that exact distance. I know that the parking was originally planned for one area. It was moved out of that area because it was too environmentally sensitive.
Correct. Would it be, if I gave you, somewhere probably just under half a mile, would that be an accurate distance from the parking pad to the water point?
I don't want to go on the record.
Right.
I'm
It's
not an
probably in that
expert on the
ballpark,
site.
if not north. It's because I walked it. Actually, and I know we have people in the audience that's saying it's north of that. It is a very lengthy walk, and so if you're walking with the kayak, do you know the elevation change from where the parking pad is to where the access point is?
The elevation change?
The elevation change.
I do not.
The reason I bring that up is because as we talked about ADA compliance and things like that, if you go to the site and you see it for yourself, it's really not an ideal site for those types of activity because there's a significant drop in elevation from where the parking pad is down to the water access point that would make it extremely difficult for a human with just two legs and no issues walking down it. And so that's part of the reason this even struck in my mind when I bring it up. I'm not trying to, kill the project. I'm just trying to reduce that parking space area. And I think it's important to try to, as far as the trail is concerned, it is a beautifully organic trail that exists right now. Obviously, the vegetation can be improved to make it more specific so they know exactly where to walk. But the more natural we look at as it gets down to that water point, that makes sense to me. I also heard that there were potential a sort of tram or something like that would allow the kayak to be sort of mechanically driven down to the water access. Is that still true?
Well, so kayakers and canoers utilize little dollies that have wheels that they can pull them. I've been told now, because I'm plugged in, that the parking lot is 220 linear feet from the water access point, so it's a little less than half a mile.
I'm specifically talking about the parking pad to where the actual kayaking point is more than 200 feet. Now, the parking pad from a water linear, if you're just like crow's nest, if you're flying, is close, but the walk to get to where they're going is like half a mile.
Right, but Councilman,
It's significant.
you also said that you wanted to reduce the amount of, reduce the parking size. The original concept was 40 spaces. It's been reduced to 10 spaces.
Mm-hmm.
There's also going to be a gate system utilized. So
Why the gate system? Oh, for the cars?
yeah,
the vehicles?
So,
Okay.
Right. So, I understand, again, that no plan can be perfect to everybody. But I want to reiterate that the department has spent a lot of time on this project and that there have been considerable changes made to the project to accommodate the feedback from the community. There also is another large community, the water access community, that probably would want more things in the parking lot to be closer and all of these things, right? So as many projects are, this is a compromise to try and do the best for the most. And so again, as budget officer, my primary concern is you're saying we're just delaying it a year, we'll take more time to look at it. That never works. It's going to get more expensive. Something's going to change. The project is going to be more expensive. And the next year, the council's going to say, why is this project getting more expensive, right? So I've made the administration position clear. I think we've heard from the council member from the district and others. But I just want to reiterate that there was a stakeholder engagement process. The plan has been changed and amended to adopt some feedback from the community, and the department and the administration is comfortable with where it's at now.
Understood. All right, thank you.
So I just want to add, Mr. Volke brought up the number of car top boat launches that we have in the county, and we do have a number, and I will say as someone who lives in the far western part of the county, None of those are close to me, especially the ones in Pasadena. No offense, Mr. Volke, but those are very far from me. Right now, the closest one would be Quiet Waters Park. This access for people living in my community would be a half an hour closer, almost, than Quiet Waters Park would be, to have that, from where we are. So we have a variety of them around the county so that we have more access, so that people don't have to drive 45 minutes or something, that they will have opportunities closer to them. And this is just another one that would be available in a closer proximity to large portions of the county that would come out. So I do, I feel like that there has been so much community input and so much public discussion on this, and I just don't know what another year is going to give us. It's gone from 40 spaces down to 10. I'm going to stand with my colleague whose district this is, that and has been involved with this, that we need to move on with this and allow public access to public property that we've spent large amounts of taxpayer dollars to provide. So any other, Ms. Fiedler?
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one more time for the record. There is water access right now, because I know we keep hearing, and this is where I am torn, that this would allow for water access, but there is already water access at this park, correct?
A human being can walk through the woods and get down to the creek, but there's no structured access. You would have to, unless you can walk to the site from where you are, you would have to pull off on the side of a community road, and then you would have to walk down an unimproved trail essentially and get down to the creek. So if your question is, can someone physically get down to the water, the answer is yes. If your question is there an accessible way for someone to get down to the water with a kayak or a canoe or something like that, I would say they'd have to be pretty hardy.
Yes, I can drive my vehicle to the front of that gate and park in that cul-de-sac, that little into the parking area right there, get out of my vehicle, walk through the entrance with my kayak all the way to, at some point, when the elevation drops precipitously, as the, I was going to say council members, Mr. Trumbo, the budget officer, has said, it certainly would have to be a very sort of hardy individual to.
I'd like to
it.
put the size of Mr. Smith's biceps on the record.
I think Mr. Trumbauer can do it too. But yes, you can walk to that and get in there right now today. You can do that.
Madam Chair, follow-up question about the cul-de-sac. The cul-de-sac is, I'm looking at the design plans right now. The cul-de-sac is the cul-de-sac that's in closest proximity to the water.
To the parking pad, where they want to put the parking pad.
Okay, that cul-de-sac. Okay.
Ms. Ravian?
Thank you. Before my colleagues take a vote on this amendment, I also just want to point out that the sponsor of the amendment has not had communication with Rec and Parks about this amendment, has not had communication with any folks from the water access community as a whole. And to me, that is what I believe you conveyed to me earlier today.
Yeah, not the water access as a whole community, no. Individuals, yes.
Individuals from the water access community. Mm-hmm. Would you mind sharing the conversations you had? Because that was not my impression. My impression was that your conversations were with the
primarily
neighborhoods.
With the neighborhood, yes. It was primarily with the neighborhood, and that's where this was driven from, largely from, yes.
So I think this is just not how we make decisions on the council. We need to make sure that when we're going to make a substantial change to something that's already in progress, we should be having community or conversations with all of the stakeholders, including Recreation and Parks, who have been working on this extensively. This latest design by itself, this latest proposal for at least a year, maybe Budget Officer Trumbauer could tell us how long the latest proposal has been on the table, but they have been working on various proposals for several years. And so not having them included in a conversation about something to put the entire thing on hold when they're already at 60% seems to me an unwise way to make a decision and undermines our our departments who have engaged with the community and have engaged in this process to come up with a compromise that does what the program Open Space funding envisions. And right now, we don't really have that. So yes, we don't take questions from the audience. The current plan technically allows access to the water, but in practicality, it's, we don't know if more no parking signs will crop up that have not been, authorized by the county. So to me, this needs to go forward. It's time to commit to real public water access. And so, again, I urge my colleagues to vote this down. This is in progress. We have no place messing with the process that's in place when we don't even have all the stakeholders at the table here.
I want to add one more thing. We were talking about ADA access and access to this property, and we've been talking about the car top access for kayaks and canoes, which is important. That's a thing that people want. But we also, plan also includes a small fishing pier. So when we talk about access, and right now you could get down there if you were hardy and could tromp through. Well, someone who has some mobility issues or something would not be able to tromp through and do that, but they may want to have access to a fishing pier. If they could get down there, they could sit and enjoy the water and have that. Water access is not just boat access, it's enjoying the beauty of it and to have there too. And we are right now keeping people from that. To have, yes, Mr. Volk.
I just want to put in a plug for my district. If you have a need for ADA accommodations, we have wonderful fishing piers at Downs Park. We have great access to the water at Fort Smallwood Park. I know it's a little bit further to go, but I will also say the county has some excellent amenities there. And I think in terms of the use of those, they're well established in the community. People are aware of it. And generally speaking, the community and the people who come in to use the parks get along pretty well. So
we deserve to have them in District 6 as well.
Right. That's good. That's great. And we should have them more places too.
sure, yeah, I understand. But I guess I'm just putting in my plug. So to the
Yeah.
extent that there's concerns about that, I just want to let everybody know we do have those accommodations.
Right. And the more, the better.
Yeah.
Ms. Pickard.
Yeah, this conversation has gone a little bit off the rails, but we have lots of rivers and creeks, and they should be accessible. It shouldn't just all be in Pasadena. It's a great place, Mr. Volke. All of us represent great places in this county. But 600,000 people don't live on the water. And we need to just end this debate, end this conversation, and move this project forward. Good.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Thank you. This is a question, a follow-up to Ms. Rodvian's question. Mr. Smith, you said that you have spoken to individual members of the Water Access Committee.
I have.
Just wanted to make sure I heard the
have.
answer correctly. Thank you.
That's correct.
Ms. Rodvian.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm ready to vote.
Okay.
I'm incredibly disappointed with how this conversation has gone.
So, all right. No further discussion. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 16.
Ms. Fiedler.
There is no easy vote on this one. Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Nay.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Nay.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Nay.
4 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative. Amendment number 16 has been adopted.
There's no clapping. We don't do that in our meetings. Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 17.
Amendment number 17, capital program, increases FY28 bonds by $1,691,500 for water access facilities Valentine Creek Water Access Project.
Mr. Smith, this is your amendment.
This amendment simply restores that funding that was removed from FY27 and applies it to the FY28 capital outlay year, the 1.61 million. Motion to adopt.
Second.
Administration?
Well, we certainly hope you put it back in 28, which this amendment does.
Any further discussion?
I was just going to make sure that everyone understood that if this project is going to move forward at all, we have to vote for this amendment.
All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 17.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 17 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 18.
Amendment number 18, capital budget reduces FY27 general county bonds by $7,600,000.
Mr. Volkey, this is your amendment.
Sure is. Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, keeping with the county executive's theme of finishing what we've started and not starting new projects. So when we were in our budget deliberations and getting presentations from Rec and Parks, reached out to Rec and Parks to find out what amount of the money that was in this project for Quiet Waters Park rehabilitation and improvement was for ongoing or in existence projects and what amount was for new projects. My understanding is that the $7.6 million is relating to the Quiet Waters Retreat, which is a project that has not yet started and is still kind of being put together, whereas the $4.856 million allows them to finish the ice rink, finish some of the other improvements that they are already in progress on and that they absolutely need that money to handle. So again, being consistent with the way that the county executive has sort of put the budget together, I think that this makes sense to basically ensure we're finishing what we have started. And then with respect to new projects, that it sounds like the county executive agrees with us that we should push that to the next administration to let them put together their priorities, whatever that administration may be. And ultimately, that is the purpose of this amendment. So with that, I would move the amendment.
Second.
Mr. Trumbauer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Trumbauer for the administration. I could agree with Mr. Volkey, but then we'd both be wrong, and nobody wants that. So this we would urge the council to reject. Some of you were on the council when the retreat first was brought to the county. You'll remember that it was in partnership with the Chesapeake Conservancy that ultimately did not move forward. There was opposition in the community. There were questions from the council. And so the department and the administration regrouped. There was an extensive stakeholder process that resulted in a new master plan for the Quiet Waters Retreat. That is what this funds. Councilwoman Rodvian will know, because it's her district, that was not an easy place to get to. There were a lot of strong opinions about what should or shouldn't happen there. And by and large, what resulted from the master plan, I think, is a great compromise, and it's something that most folks are looking forward to. If we delay or if we cut the funding from this project, I believe it will also jeopardize the REPI money that we got from the federal government that was part of the package that we used to acquire the property. So I know the department strenuously opposes this. As someone that used to live in the area, I know that Quiet Waters is the most visited park in the county, and this is an expansion of that park to the retreat area. I think that this is going to be the administration believes this would be a good extension for not only the local residents, but for the county as a whole, since Quiet Waters is a regional park that gets visitors from all over the place. So we would ask you to please reject this amendment.
Mr. Trumbauer, could you cite again, this amendment could jeopardize federal funds? Is that
So
what you're saying?
we got funding to acquire the site from REPI in partnership with the U.S. Navy. So this is a program that gives funding for acquisitions, recreational and parkland acquisitions for properties within a certain radius of military institutions. So because of the location by the Navy, the Naval Academy in Annapolis, this qualified. So I can't offhand remember the total contribution, but it was $1 or $2 million that we got from REPI. There was also a program open space money, I think, that was part of that as well. So it was a whole package because it was quite an expensive parcel to acquire. It was under threat of being developed. And so this is not a new project. It's not something the Pittman administration just came up with. It's been in concept for many years. We finally are ready to move forward based on the master plan, and we would hate to have the rug pulled out from underneath this project.
Ms. Rodvian?
Thank you. If I seem a little frustrated, it is because between these two amendments, over $9 million in parks projects are being amended out of District 6. These are things that were already going forward, including this one. I'm not sure what sort of characterization Rec and Parks made saying that this park rehab and improvement project is not going forward. This has absolutely been underway. I think my colleagues that were on the council when we had the whole issue about the contributions from the Earl family and from was when this really took shape. So this is absolutely not new. I believe that was 2022, 23, so it's at least 3 years. I'm kind of appalled that $9.2 million, actually more than that, those are the rough numbers, zero consultation with the council member who represents these districts about the process that has been in place with these. So I don't know why it has become Attack District 6 Day. I find that offensive. And I hope my colleagues will reject this amendment.
Ms. Pickard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I happen to agree with my colleague in District 6. I've never thought this was a new project. And again, there are projects waiting behind this project to get the attention and the construction dollars. And if it doesn't even look like there's a plan to do something with the 7.6 million. It's just a cut. So that just, to me, it just seems mean and not actually based in any sort of need for something else, or there's no other goal other than to cut this project. District 2 is waiting to be next in line to the expansion of Severn Danza, also property we bought. Also, the Marley Creek Regional Park is in line to start getting construction dollars, also property that this county has purchased. We have to move these projects forward. We've invested county tax dollars in property to make them become county parks. Let's start building these parks. My district is ready and waiting for our master plans to be finished, and I want to move these ahead. I don't understand what's happening here. This is very disappointing budget amendment day. No one has reached out to the council member. Councilman at courtesy is out the window. We're not even being respectful of each other in how we decide about the county budget. So I would urge my colleagues not to allow this cut to move forward. Let's build some parks.
Mr. Volke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate that. I just wanted to point out, it was Resolution 38-19, which approved the acquisition of Quiet Waters Retreat from the Advanced Land Acquisition Capital Project back in October of 2019. It was a unanimous vote of the council. I voted for it, as did Councilwoman Fiedler, Councilwoman Pickard, and Councilwoman Rodvian, who were all here. So this is not about opposing the concept of Quiet Waters Retreat. I've been to the property. I remember going there years and years ago when we first acquired it. Ultimately, I think we have a bit of a disagreement in what is sort of considered how we do our jobs. When I look at something, and just to be clear, if I think that there is a way to potentially spend the money more appropriately or more wisely on a different project in a different way, even if I don't know what it is yet, I don't think it's mean to say we're going to cut that and we're going to have that money available, and that money will be available for future projects or for future years. So again, there's not malice here. This isn't mean. It's just how we allocate scarce resources, which is what government is about. There is not an unlimited amount of money. There's only so much, and so we have to decide where to put it. And just because you don't know where you're going to put the money right away doesn't necessarily mean that it's an unkind thing to do, to say, let's reassess this project. I would just share with some of my colleagues that my first year on the council, I think I lost a little over $60 million in projects out of my district that had been previously in the budget, that had been funded, but with a new council and with a new county administration, many of those projects were scrapped, pushed off for a year, and then ultimately scrapped. So I'm aware of what that feels like and what that is like. And I will tell you, in the end, some of those projects came back in different iterations. Some of those projects ultimately never came back at all. That is just part of, again, how we allocate scarce resources. So I just share that for the benefit of everybody in sort of assessing how we're doing things here. That said, in the email that I received from the department, and I do acknowledge the department told me that they were going to oppose this, so there's not any surprise there. But the FY27 program will allow them, with the funding that remains, to complete the Visitor Center, Blue Heron Center improvements, which are in construction. It'll allow for retreat expansion and design start construction. I think that's the part that's going to be removed if we do this amendment. It will allow us to finish the new maintenance building and complete the design, and it'll allow the ice rink design and construction. So this is by no means depriving Quiet Waters of being able to finish up the projects that are in process, but it is sort of hitting a pause button for a moment and allowing the next administration to come in and decide if this makes sense. So I did also get, just to be clear from the department, they noted that there had been a partial acquisition with federal REPI funds, federal REPI grant funds, which included the expectation of public access and the Navy participation in the stakeholder process. Similar to Valentine Creek, I'm not aware that the public is not able to access this property. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Trumbauer, but I think this is an expansion of access. This is not to give them access, period. Is that right?
So again, there's no amenities on the site. There were some old
Understand.
buildings that got demolished, but
Yep.
there's no way a family could drive up and you know, they're not going to take a trail over and be able to do anything. What the money here is to do what's in the master plan, which you all can look up. You just Google Quiet Waters Retreat Master Plan. It's the first link that comes up. You can see what this would do.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I guess where I come at it is I hear this every time we're going to cut anything, and I've heard it for the last 8 years. We're going to lose some federal money. We're going to violate Project Open Space. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I've yet to see the state come back and claw back money. I've yet to see the federal government do it in my 8 years on the council. If it's happened, enlighten me, please. But I hear that refrain frequently.
So Chris Trem, our budget officer for the record. Yes, a few years back, there was quite a back and forth with the Department of Natural Resources about some of the program open space for some previous projects. We had to work with them over time to straighten that out. You'll also remember there was a bit of a kerfluffle last year on the Discovery Village lease. We had to work with Department of Natural Resources on that. Ultimately, that got straightened out. And there's been a lot of things that haven't reached your level, Councilman, because concerns were brought to the administration's attention or the department's attention, and then they were able to address those concerns before it got to a matter of funding being threatened or taken away. Yeah. But one interesting thing that I'll just note is you made I think a point about this being the new part of Quiet Waters and that all the other stuff is being maintained, which is correct. The money that you're proposing to strike out is for Quiet Waters Retreat only. But you also referenced the acquisition in 2019, which by my math is 6 or 7 years ago. So this has been contemplated for a long time, as we all know, and there's in fact funding in DPW to try and speed this up, but capital projects take a long time. And so going back to Councilmember Pickard's point of from concept to development to ribbon cutting, it takes a long time and you kind of have to get in that line. We would argue that this isn't a new project that was just conceived this year, but in fact, we're at the point where it's a culmination of 5 or 6 years worth of effort to get to this point.
Yeah, and I'll just close with, as you and I discussed multiple times today, reasonable minds can differ, but I certainly appreciate the additional perspective.
Ms. Pickard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This has been a very interesting morning and discussion about properties that Anne Arundel County has acquired. Unimproved public property is not necessarily safe for the public to access. We are putting ourselves, the county, at risk when we don't move these projects forward. And if we go back to look at this property was acquired in 2019, Severn Danza was 2021, Marley Creek, 72 acres in my district, was purchased in 2018. Still, unimproved, not accessible to the public. What are we doing? We talk about, from the council side, we criticize that these projects take so long to get through the planning process and the construction process, and here we are being part of the problem. We today are the barrier of our CIP getting executed on. 4 folks today have delayed another project which has already taken a lot of county time and planning. And here we are about to do it again with another project. I think we should be very concerned that we're now part of the problem, that we have always been casting blame at the DPW and Brecken Park. So they take so long. Why does it take so long to get from 30% to 60% to 90% design to actual construction? The Odenton Park we just cut a ribbon on has been in the works for 12 years. Our citizens that we all represent, they want outcomes. They want access to parks. They want improvements in our county. And we today have become the barrier to that. We are not representing our constituents well today, and we should be very disappointed.
Ms. Ravian?
I think maybe Ms. Pickard said everything that I needed to say, but once again, I just would like to reiterate the fact that neither of these amendments were presented to me before today. So I knew nothing about what would be significant changes in the capital budget for recreation and parks in my own district, because my colleagues did not have the courtesy to even notify me that they were doing this.
Any other comments? So I do want to point out that while this amendment would reduce the bonds, it does not move this money to any other projects, to move any other project along. So it's not helping do this. One thing that we heard continually through the comprehensive rezoning process that we just completed was that people wanted more green space. They wanted more accessibility to green space and parkland and all that. As Ms. Pickard said, we've spent a lot of money buying land to do that and to actually provide that, and now we're kind of halting the ability for the public to actually use the things they've been begging us to do. So I'm going to oppose this amendment. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 18.
Ms. Fiedler,
Nay.
Ms. Rodvian,
Nay.
Ms. Ledbetter,
Nay.
Mr. Smith,
Nay.
Ms. Pickard,
Nay.
Mr. Volkey,
Aye.
and Ms. Hummer.
Nay.
1 in the affirmative, 6 in the negative. Amendment number 18 has been defeated.
Okay. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 19.
Amendment number 19, it decreases the fire department operating budget by $465,000 for medication supply management.
Mr. Volkey, this is your amendment.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm actually not going to move forward with this amendment in light of the discussion that we've had regarding, I believe it's amendment number
22.
21. Is it?
21.
I think it's 21.
Yes.
Yeah. So I will not introduce amendment number 19.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Volkey. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 20.
Amendment number 20, capital budget, requires a comprehensive plan for Jumpers Hole Road, Maryland 2, Maryland 177, to be shared with the community prior to the use of funds.
Okay, Mr. Volkey, this is your amendment.
It is. Thank you, Madam Chair. So just to start explaining the amendment, so a number of years back, some of my colleagues who were on the council may recall that we added in the description to this particular project, we added language that required access improvements for communities that were also along the Jumpers Hole Road corridor, in addition to the specific community that was going to have the traffic light installed for them there, and along with some other traffic improvements along the whole corridor of Jumpers Hole. So the purpose of this amendment is to ensure that as the Department of Public Works is moving forward with this plan for the Jumpers Hole Road corridor, that they are sharing a comprehensive plan for how they are going to be able to cover all of the components of the actual budget description. My understanding from the Office of Law, without going into the legal advice, is that those budget descriptions are certainly guiding, but they're not necessarily binding when it comes to how these projects have to be handled by Department of Public Works. So I would like to make sure that the Department of Public Works continues to work diligently in the effort to achieve all of the goals that the budget description included. And for that reason, I am adding this amendment to the actual body of the annual budget ordinance, as opposed to just having it in the budget book as part of the description. So that is the purpose of this. It does not do anything to delay the funding. It does not do anything to slow down the funding. I will take a moment to just, point out this was shared confidentially, a different iteration of this, by the way, an earlier iteration with my colleagues and with staff in the budget office. I learned late last night through a series of emails that came from the community that someone had breached confidentiality and shared this with the community in advance of us having our discussion on this today. And as everyone on the council knows,
Madam Chair, may
all
I
amendments-
respond to this in a moment? Go ahead, Mr. Volkey.
Sure. All amendments, thank you, are confidential until they are actually introduced, because as we're seeing right here, this is a different iteration than what was shared last night. So that being said, ultimately, that is a big concern for me, and it's been a problem. It's been a problem that I've been grappling with since last night. So I certainly am interested in understanding how that happened, because clearly that's not something that any of us want to be doing in the way that we move forward in our deliberations as a body. So with that, I would move the amendment, and I would ask for my colleagues' support on it. Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Robbian.
Thank you. So to clarify, what actually happened is a District 3 constituent asked me very directly, were there any amendments related to Jumper's Hole that would delay the project? And because I did not want to violate confidentiality, I did not answer that question. What I told them was, however, if this is something that concerns you, I recommend that you write to the council and request that they not do anything or take any measures that would delay Jumper's Hole Road project. There was no amendment shared. Because I was indeed aware of the amendment, and I'm also very sensitive to following our rules, I did not share the amendment. I specifically said, if this is a concern, this is a way that you could address it.
Any further comments or discussion? Mr. Trumbauer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Trumbauer, Budget Officer. The sponsor did reach out to us. We had some tweaks, which he accommodated. I'm not going to say that DPW loves this, but in their words, they can live with it. I want to be clear that the prior actions that the council member referenced are true, and that the DPW has been working with the community. So their perspective is that they've got ongoing discussions going, but appreciate the intent of what this amendment does, and the administration does not oppose.
No further discussion. Madam Secretary, oh, Ms. Pickard.
Would the other part of the community that it does affect technically people in District 2, but the pedestrian safety issues that affect this corridor are real, and this has been a very protracted project. Does the administration feel like this language is sort of, can be construed as what's already happening with the community as far as the process, and it's not going to delay? Because the community wants this road fixed.
So the discussions with DPW were similar to what you're saying. They believe they are doing this, but if the sponsor wants to emphasize that through this language, they didn't have an, I mean, kind of like a belt and suspenders thing a little bit, but if it gives more assurance to the sponsor, the department didn't think it would affect the ultimate timeline of the project. It just kind of reiterates the efforts they're already doing.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 20.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Nay.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
6 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. Amendment number 20 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 21.
Amendment number 21, operating budget, increases CAO contingency grants, contributions, and other by $200,000 and decreases fire department operating budget by $200,000 for medication supply management.
This is my amendment. When we had department updates around the budget, this came up from the fire department about some changes and ongoing controversy, I guess is probably the right word, between the hospital system and the fire department about restocking of medications for ambulances. We received some contradictory information from both sides on there, from the fire department and from the hospital. It appears that there needs to be some work done there between the two entities and the county, and to get things clarified. And the council, in talking with my colleagues, I think many of us still have some questions about what's going on there. And so while we want to ensure that The medications are available in the ambulances for the people who need them. We also are concerned about the program itself. And so what this would do is reduce the amount that is budgeted for those medications and move the remainder of it to the contingency fund, where it will still be accessible for the fire department as needed, when they can come back and present to the council that a sufficient process has been put in place to do that. So it just gives us some more oversight and accountability for this program. So I move to adopt.
Second.
Okay, administration?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Trummeyer, Budget Officer. So we were prepared to vigorously oppose the previous amendment that didn't get introduced. I understand that this is a compromise. So I will say we definitely think this is less bad. I think the administration would prefer no cut, but having been on the council before and utilized this, to try and fence off funds in order to get an outcome, I think if you want to work with the fire department and the hospitals to try and get them to come up with a new partnership or agreement, as long as the council is prepared to accept a transfer bill or appropriation bill to bring that 200,000 back at the point where you are satisfied, then I think our opposition certainly drops off. But I do want to be clear, if you cut these funds, the need is still going to be there, right? We can't not stock the ambulances and things like that. So we certainly, if this amendment passes, we would certainly emphasize you guys working with the fire department and the hospitals to get that agreement in place so that we can restore that 200,000. But if this passes, we'll park the 200 in the contingency fund, and then it will take a legislative action to bring it back out and reappropriate into the department.
Ms. Pickard?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in the fire department presentation, it was disappointing, the conversation that we had as a council with the fire chief about the process of how we got to this point of with our hospitals. I don't believe the conversation was wholly factual, and that was disappointing as a council member, not having the facts laid out for us in a way that were appropriate. I don't know that this is actually a way to, I mean, we still need these funds to stock ambulances, which is what our constituents and the people we represent expect, that they're going to, if they need an ambulance, it's going to have the equipment it needs on it and all the Band-Aids and all the sutures and all the medications. What do we think? Where do we think we are? Is the administration, is the fire department actively in conversations with our hospitals about a different path forward, whether it's allowing medications to be stocked and stored in our hospitals, or is the conversation over?
Thank you for that question, Council Member. So the short answer is yes, there are conversations happening. My understanding, and I think some of this came through in the original fire department budget review, the issue with hospitals and EMT ambulances is not local to us. It's a national issue that's happening. My understanding of the whys has something to do with procurement and something to do with insurance and all of that stuff, right? So it's complicated. And you guys got a letter from the hospitals, and we saw that. So I want to say a couple things. One, the county and the administration in particular value the partnership with our hospitals, right? I mean, BWMC and AAMC are great institutions. We work with them closely on a lot of things. That being said, we certainly do want to make sure that both sides see a viable path forward on this issue. Like you mentioned, cutting those funds is just going to dig ourselves a hole. But if there is a way to work with the hospitals more efficiently and in better partnership so that we can make this as efficient as possible, that's certainly something that we are exploring. I can share that the Chief Administrative Officer for the county has been personally working with AAMC and BWMC on this issue to try and figure out exactly where the pinch points are. That's probably not something that's going to get solved overnight, which is again why, as a compromise amendment, we're certainly not as opposed to this as we were to the original. So ongoing conversations that are already underway. Yes, ma'am.
May I? And so if cutting funds and putting them into, is that enough of a incentive? Does the administration feel they need an incentive to keep these conversations going? Because this just seems.
I don't think the
This is an odd way to govern, in my opinion, but.
Right. The administration would prefer no amendment, for sure. We would like to keep the money there. In recognition of the situation, I think that this is a less risky way to do it than cutting the 465. But if you don't pass this amendment, the county is still going to work with the hospitals to try and find a long-term way forward. Again, they're valuable partners that we work with them on a number of things. This is one issue that went a little sideways, but we're going to keep working with them and try and find the best and most efficient way to serve our residents that have to, unfortunately, be taken to the hospital in EMT.
Madam Chair, I mean, it was, and I want to emphasize, it was unfortunate the way that the conversation played out at the fire department budget briefing with this body. And it was disappointing, for sure, especially when we do have such a valued partnership with our local hospitals. I would say to my colleagues, cutting funding that residents need in stocking these ambulances, I don't know if that's the way to use as a bargaining chip to come to a different outcome than where we are today. I want to remind everybody that we represent over 600,000 residents, and EMS services are absolutely our responsibility to carry out. So I don't really understand this whole situation, but I'm not exactly sure where I am on this amendment. Happy to hear my colleagues.
Mr. Volkey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I do want to thank the administration. I also want to thank the chair. She and I have had a lot of discussions about this, specifically the amendment that I was intending to move forward with, and then she worked to come up with this amendment, and kudos to her for that. It certainly is more palatable to the administration. Candidly, my challenge with this, and I'll echo some of the sentiments of my colleague to my left, are when the fire department was before us and we were getting information about this particular need, if you will, for why we needed a contracted person, why we potentially needed places to store medication around the county, why we needed a vehicle to be able to drive around to restock different places. That discussion was proven to be wholly inaccurate when we received additional information from the hospital partners. And the way it was handled and the way that the hospitals were effectively sort of maligned for their role in things was, again, wholly inaccurate. And when the facts came to light, it became very apparent that what had been presented to us, while certainly not under oath testimony in any way, this isn't a courtroom, but what had been presented to us was false. It was not accurate. And that certainly creates a problem for us because as a decision-making body, we rely on the people sitting at that table to give us accurate information so that we can then run that through what we know and what we're able to glean from additional sources to then make the right decisions for this county of 600,000 people. When we have a situation where we don't get accurate information and we are led to a conclusion which is an incorrect and inaccurate conclusion, dare I say false conclusion, it then creates a backlash. And that is what this amendment is born out of. I want to be clear. I don't want to see any ambulance or any person in this county not have the medication that they need. The original intent was to cut the entirety of this program because the program is not just the medication. It was the idea of hiring a medication person as a contract person who then would have a county vehicle, and we would have to pay for storage facilities around the county to be able to store all this medication and restock ambulances on the fly because our hospital partners, we were told, had done such a terrible thing to stop giving us the medication for free, and we didn't even have anywhere that we could store it. We then learned that, in fact, the hospitals have made multiple offers that we can store the medication at their facilities. And we, in fact, learned that at least for one of the hospitals, they are owed $180,000 from the county for supplies that they've given us and that they have never even been paid for. So when you learn that information, it creates a real problem for us as decision makers to be able to say, how do we move forward with this? So I don't want to penalize someone, but I also want people to understand that coming in front of us and providing false information is not without consequence, right? If you see that as a penalty, okay, we all can differ on that. What I see it as is there is a reality of you presented some sort of new program that we didn't need, and we didn't need it because you actually didn't give us the right facts. And so the purpose with this, and where I think we've reached as a compromise, is instead of taking the entirety of it, we're going to keep some money there. That money can be used for the medication, right? We want to make sure we get the medication that we need for county residents, for our ambulances, et cetera. But we're going to hold the balance of that money back, and we're going to say to the fire department, you need to figure it out with the hospitals. You need to come up with some solution. The hospitals have shown that they are ready, willing, and able partners to come up with that solution. And so the answer is not come back to the taxpayers and ask for more money because you just don't want to deal with them because it was easier. The answer is you all have to come up with a path forward. And if you come up with a path forward that requires more funding, well, we've set aside some money over here on the side, and we can certainly appropriate that at a later date. So I point all of that out because I think that that entire context is missing from this, and the sort of extraordinary reason for doing this is lost. If you simply read this amendment, your first thought might be, well, this is strange. As one of my colleagues noted, this is an odd way to do things. But when you understand the full context of what actually happened, and then the back-end work that had to happen for us to get the right story, and then be able to move forward in an appropriate way, it actually makes everything line up, and I think logical people can follow that in a very clear manner of thinking. So with that, I do hope all of my colleagues will support this. I do believe that this is an amendment that, for the body, is an important amendment for us to make sure that we are exercising our oversight as the fiscal authority for the county. Thank you.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I feel personally that I have to circle back because when we had the fire department in front of us for a budget hearing, I did not hold back my frustration over what was presented. I was pretty emotional about the relationship that I felt was broken between our partners in the two hospitals and the fire department. As my colleagues have already stated, that turned out not to be the exact case. I just want to thank our hospital partners for being good partners, for reaching out to the council and the administration to provide a full picture so that we could be in this moment of decision to be responsible. I remember Councilwoman Rodvi and I were going back and forth, almost asking the same questions about efficiency and not having medicine stored at the hospitals and having to go to different fire stations. And as it turns out, we have partners in our hospitals that are willing to store that, as Mr. Volke said, but I think even one of them said for free. So I think this is a compromise that makes sure that we are building that relationship and strengthening it with our hospitals, but also being responsible of our constituents and their tax dollars.
Are there any other comments? Administration? You want to add
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just being at this perspective and listening to you all, it seems like you have two paths forward. If I can try and summarize, it sounds like what Ms. Pickard is suggesting is kind of legislative intent, right? You've told the administration and the department how you feel, and the intent is work with the hospitals. We're not happy with how that hearing went, right? So we can do that. You don't need to cut anything. Or what Mr. Volke is proposing is, hey, actions speak louder than words. Let's park 200 grand over in contingency and make them come up with an agreement before we give that money back, right? So those are the two options. To be clear, the administration would prefer the first. We would like to hear you loud and clear, and we would like to continue the conversation that I referenced earlier and working with the administration, the department, and the hospitals. But if the choice of the council is to adopt the amendment, we will still do that, and we will very much hope that you will put that money back at some point in the fiscal year so that that category of funding is not left deficient.
Ms. Pickard.
So I just want to clarify for myself, my colleagues, and anybody listening. If we fence off this money and put it into contingency, it has to come before the council again to move money out of contingency.
In order to be appropriated to the fire department, it would need a legislative bill.
If we don't, it is now sitting in a contingency fund that could be used at the discretion of the CAO, or I'm just reminding
No,
myself.
ma'am.
We
The-
always have to vote on where money.
Any appropriation taking money out of the contingency fund and putting it in anywhere else requires legislative action. Yep.
Just wanting to
So
make myself
you'll
clear.
you'll be in control of that money ultimately.
Okay.
So, and I just want to reiterate that I felt that this was a compromise that is not going to endanger any of our residents, that medications will not be available, but it does provide some additional accountability and oversight that the council still has some authority over, but we are not putting members of the public at risk. We just want to make this process better, clearer, and more beneficial for everyone. So I urge my colleagues to support the amendment. And Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 21.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Nay.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
6 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. Amendment number 21 has been adopted.
Okay, Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 22.
Amendment number 22, operating budget, corrects typographical errors.
Okay, this is a very important amendment that I'm putting forward to correct some typographical errors, because we do not like those, especially when it comes to money. Motion to adopt. Mr. Trumbauer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Trumbauer, Budget Officer. Yeah, this is on me. Big thumbs. Just typo. Yep.
So, is there any further discussion on this one? All right, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 22.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 22 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 23.
Amendment number 23, capital budget, reduces FY27 general county bonds by $2,079,500.
Mr. Volkey, this is your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to give kudos to our staff who were able to very quickly work to put this together. So thank you. They've been sort of moving around. The auditor's office helped as well. So thank you. This is a follow-up to Mr. Smith's amendments 16 and 17. I'd referenced in my initial remarks regarding a park in my district. So to be clear, this is my own councilmanic district, Beechwood Park, that there is a plan where, again, the county initially acquired the property. There was a concept of doing a larger boat ramp that's been scaled back to a car top launch, and they are in design. They're actually not quite as far along on that project as they are on Valentine Creek. So Valentine Creek is actually further along in the process than Beechwood is. But as I had mentioned in my remarks, I have a number of constituents who are quite concerned about that, and I do want to give Rec and Parks credit that they, in the community meetings, came, listened, heard. They have scaled back the project in certain regards, but I don't think that the project is quite yet ready for prime time. So with that, this would do the same thing that occurred with Valentine Creek. This would take the money and push it to the next year to give a little bit more time to be able to develop a plan for this property and how the county intends to move it forward. So the reason that this also references Valentine Creek, just to be clear, is that it has to. The problem would be, had we passed the amendment without referencing Valentine Creek and tying the two of them together, then my amendment would have superseded Valentine Creek and Valentine Creek would have been erased. So in sort of the order of operations, things have to build upon one another. That's how we do legislation. With that, just to give you sort of the roadmap, amendment number 23 reduces the funding down to $405,500 in the Water Access Fund. That would now account for the reduction both for Valentine Creek and for Beechwood Park. And that would do that in FY 2027, so that reduces the total bonding by $2,079,500. Amendment number 24, similar to what we did with Amendment 17, is the corresponding amendment that adds that funding back, $1,691,500 for Valentine Creek and $388,000 for Beechwood Park into next year's FY 2028 program in the capital improvement program. So same comments regarding why we're doing this, same concept that it's moving the funding a year. It's a pretty straightforward concept. It's moving an additional $388,000 from the water access facilities in FY 27 into 28, and that is to account for pushing out Beechwood Park soft launch facility one additional year. Move the amendment, ask for my colleagues' support. Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Trumbauer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Trumbauer, Budget Officer. All right, so think back, imagine all the things I said for the previous amendment. Just replay that in your head, because I would say the same thing, but I know we're getting ready to be done here. But I do want to add one thing. If this amendment is successful, it means that all of the water access projects that the department is currently working on will be paused for a year. So now you've already deferred Valentine, and now Beechwood will also be deferred for a year. That means that no water access projects will be moving forward for the next year. I won't rehash all the debate, the broader debate we had in the last one, but I did want to point that out. We just deferred one, and now it'll be another. So I wanted to emphasize that one point. But we just got this amendment, and I've been in brief contact with the department. They're asking us to oppose this amendment, and all my previous testimony stands.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. What then would the $405,500 left in the water access facilities be for if there'd be no?
Well, so this is deferring those projects a year, so those would still presumably pick back up a year from now. But they also are doing plans and studies for future sites. But to be honest, they're probably going to be a little disheartened to do future sites if the ones that are currently ready to go to the next step keep getting deferred. So it'll be a little demoralizing to the department, I'm sure.
I just want to make sure I understand. So the 405 is for identifying and looking at potential future sites.
Are you talking about what will be left in
what
in
will
the
be left.
project?
Yeah.
Yeah, or there could be the tail ends of some things that are finishing up. Even when a project is done, sometimes there's invoices that come in, so I can't speak to every dollar that's allocated, but the bulk of it was for these projects now that are both at risk of being deferred.
That's fair. Thank you. I just want to make sure I understood.
Is there any other comments? Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 23.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Nay.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Nay.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Nay.
4 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative. Amendment number 23 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 24.
Amendment number 24, Capital Program, increases FY28 bonds by $1,691,500 for Water Access Facilities Valentine Creek Water Access Project and $388,000 for Water Access Facilities Beechwood Park Soft Launch Facility.
Mr. Volkey, this is your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So similar to Amendment 17, if we don't do Amendment 24 and pass it, the money will not be appropriated in the next fiscal year. So I would urge my colleagues' support. Thank you. Move the amendment.
Second.
Administration?
Chris Trumbauer, Budget Officer. We didn't want you to take it out, but since you did, we want you to put it back. Please pass the amendment.
All right. Any further discussion? Ms. Rodvian?
Thank you. I'm going to support this for the reasons Mr. Trumbauer just suggested or just indicated. I know I've mentioned this to my colleagues before. Before I moved to this area, thanks to the U.S. Army, I had the privilege with living with my husband on the island of Oahu in Hawaii. It has 227 miles of shoreline. All 227 miles of those shoreline, except for a very few, ironically, owned by the U.S. military, are accessible to the public. There are no dramatic issues surrounding crime or parking or anything like that because of the access to the shoreline. We have more than double that in Anne Arundel County, yet the amount that is available and accessible to the public is tiny. It is tiny, and we need to do better.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 24.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 24 has been adopted.
Mr. Trumbauer, do you need some additional time to prepare the supplemental budget?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I think my team's been tracking this in real time, so I don't think we'll need a ton, but if you could give us half an hour, Or maybe, just to play it safe, if we could reconvene at 12:30, and then I'll be happy to read in the summary of the supplemental letter,
Okay,
if that works for Madam Administrator.
that, may I have a motion to recess for 1 hour?
No, well, half an hour.
Oh, half an hour? Oh,
Well, I was suggesting if, oh, yeah. Well, let's just do 12:30. That's a nice round number, yeah?
may I have a motion to recess until 12:30?
Motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will return at 12:30.
Thank you.
trying to
All right, we are back in session. The county executive proposing additional amendments to the budget today, otherwise known as the supplemental budget. Mr. Trumbauer, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So on behalf of the county executive, I am Chris Trumbauer, budget officer, and I'm pleased to be before the council to introduce the administration's supplemental budget. I supplied a letter which is 5 pages long, which I believe you have a copy. I'm not going to read it all, but I would want to give you some highlights, specifically because you requested most of the things that we've put in to supplemental budget. So I want to assure you that it landed okay. So if you're following along, the letter goes through the operating budget and then the capital budget supplemental amendments. So in the general fund, we are making some additions to the Board of Education. Specifically, we are adding $510,400 to increase the TSA pay and $25,000 for the Southern High School greenhouse operations. Those are both in the operating budget. In the CAO budget, we are actually now doing a couple things considering the amendments that just happened. But first, we are going to reduce the overall appropriation by about $800,000 to free up some funds to pay for the supplemental budget requests that you all have made. But then we're also going to now add the $200 that you fenced off. We're taking out of the fire department, and that's going to go in the CAO contingency. And then we're also adding $150,000 of one-time funding for a new grant program that will be a one-time security grants for houses of worship, and that will be administered by the CAO office. Again, those are all at the request of the council, and we're pleased to be able to do that. In our library system, again, this was a council request, but we are proposing appropriation for one new mechanic position. That totals $58,800. And in our fire department, two things going on here. Since the budget was introduced on May 1st, the federal government opened the SAFER grant, which provides funding for local departments to add new positions. So we are going to apply the SAFER grant to the 21 proposed positions in the budget. And then at your request, we're going to add 5 more positions. So there will be 26 new positions now. Those will all be funded with SAFER. I sent you an email to this effect, but just to remind you, we budget for these positions with recurring funds, and then we take the grant funds as offsetting one-time savings, because in 3 years we'll have to pay the full freight of these, and we don't want to create a fiscal cliff. So that's what's happening in the fire department. There's a pay-go balancing amendment. But then in the other funds, these are just where we reconcile everything. So you'll see something in the library fund and the Board of Ed fund. That's just to reconcile what I already spoke about. But in the Board of Education specifically, since the proposed budget was introduced, we've been made aware of a change in the state funding that is less dollars. So it's $827,500 reduction in state aid. And we're also reallocating funding to offset the grant replacement positions. So this was done in coordination with our friends in the school system. So we add money and the state taketh away, unfortunately. Then there's some truing up of some grants in the Grant Special Revenue Fund. I list the things that are going in there. And then we're correcting the VLT, the Video Lottery Impact Aid Fund. There we need to remove $100,000 from Office of Finance Non-Departmental and put it in Public Works. Okay, so that's all the operating stuff. And again, all of those were at the council request, so we're very hopeful that you support what you asked for. On the capital side, a little bit busier here because we are truing up some projects. Again, this is all these things that I'm going to list. These are paid for by a combination of the operating or the capital budget cuts that you did earlier today, as well as available affordability in the 6-year program. I won't go over everything here, but I did want to call a few things to your attention. First, just the general shuffling of the OIT capital projects. Remember, we split that big IT enhancement one up this year into 4 different ones. So after further deliberation with the department, they wanted to change the proportions of that a little bit to make sure that it aligned with the appropriate categories. So we're shuffling some funding around, but it's not a net change at all. And then we get to things that you all asked for. So in the general county project planning project, there's $175,000 of new funding to look at a West County Community Center feasibility study. And then in our education class, there's a handful of things here. We're going to add $500,000 at your request for the Southern High School team rooms, and we're going to add some video lottery impact aid for MacArthur Middle School, which came to our attention. We're also going to increase the athletic facility improvements project by $3.9 million to allow the school system to do both of the field houses. So now Chesapeake Fieldhouse and Arundel both have full funding in this budget. And then we're going to pull the funding for Ruth Parker Eason feasibility study forward from fiscal 31 to fiscal 27, so they can start on that right away. Related to that, at the council's request, we are putting additional funding of $1.275 million in Board of Ed project and program planning. That will be specifically to do the following feasibility studies for the next cohort of schools: Arundel Middle School, Riviera Beach Elementary School, Chesapeake Bay Middle School, Bodkin Elementary School, and Van Bocklin Elementary School. So what will happen is they will do those feasibility studies in this upcoming year, and then for the next budget, they'll then have a clearer idea of scope and timing for those projects, those school construction projects that the next administration, the next council will presumably go forward with in the future CIP. There are a handful of other capital amendments that are largely just reconciliation or funding swap, but I won't detail those. I will just close by saying that this may be the earliest ever that we're finished with Amendment Day, which is good. That being said, we'll look forward to reconvening on Thursday to strike the budget. I've worked closely with, I think, each of you. Appreciate the work of the council staff, the auditor's office, and working with you all to get to this point. I think we've got a pretty good budget here, folks, and I really hope that we have a consensus support going forward, and we look forward to a good outcome on Thursday. If there's any questions you have between now and then, please reach out to me. And I just want to close with a note of personal thank you to my staff who's upstairs listening. They do all the work, and then I just sit down here on the hot seat and answer your questions. So they put in a lot of time and effort to getting everything right, and I appreciate them as well as the staff for you all too. So thanks, and happy to entertain any questions if you have them.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from colleagues? Mr. Volke?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Trumbauer, I'm just curious, if we pass the budget on Thursday, will there be some commentary about it in the county exec's newsletter on Friday?
All I can tell you, Mr. Volke, is that I personally brokered that there would be no weekly letter before we pass the budget. So I can't control what happens after the budget.
All right, and just to be clear, we did, as you saw, and as everyone can see, made some amendments and some cuts to what he touted was an otherwise excellent budget in his newsletter. So
I did note that.
I just wanted to be clear that, you know, we definitely had some things we had to adjust. So with that, I'll leave it there.
I have no comment.
Are there any other questions or comments? All right. May I have under Section 709 of the Charter for Anne Arundel County, if the county executive proposes amendments to the budget so as to increase items in the budget or add items to the budget, the county council must give reasonable public notice of the proposed amendments and hold a public hearing on the amendments, unless the county council waives the requirement for a public hearing. It takes 5 votes to waive this public hearing. May I have a motion to waive the public hearing required by Section 709 of the Charter?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
And Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to waive the public hearing has passed.
Okay, the motion to waive the public hearing required by Section 709 of the Charter has passed. A hearing will not be held. However, public notice and copies of the supplemental budget will be provided on our website following this meeting. Is there any other business any council member would like to bring before the county council at this time? May I have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The county council is adjourned until June 11th, 2026 at 10 a.m. when we will meet in person in the county chambers to vote on the entire proposed FY27 budget. Thank you very much.